and we are so happy to see you here. Welcome to the session. So the aim for this session is to kind of highlight and give an introduction into some of the amazing opportunities there are to work at the international level in JCI. Because we do know the positions as president, of course, also executive vice president and VPs, but that's quite a limited number of options, and there are so many more positions to aim for, apply for, to put your name in the pool for. And what we want to do here is to highlight them, to give you an introduction to it, and also how do you get to that stage. Is it the appointed positions? How do you get in the loop for these? And what about the elected positions? And also in the different levels. So that is really, really our goal for today. So first of all, from our side, a warm welcome to all of you. So moving a bit forward, we will just shortly introduce ourselves. And Anna, can you go first by introduction?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I'm a vice president assigned to Europe this year. And it's a pleasure to have you here and to talk more about the international opportunities and what is out there for you, and to see how big is the sea of opportunities in JCI, and to get you excited to go international as some of us here did it already and continue enjoying it. And I'm giving the floor to my wonderful co-hosts, Natasha and Jana. Maybe we can start with Natasha or continue with Natasha.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for that, Anna. As mentioned, my name is Natasha Joof. I serve as EDC chairperson this year. I'm from JCI Denmark, and I actually have an opportunity to present my career path in JCI a little bit closer quite soon, just to give an introduction to what also a career path can look like. And Jana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Anna. Hello, everybody. My name is Jana Havlíčková. I am from the Czech Republic. Last year, I was the national president of JCI Czech Republic, and this year, I am one of the EDC councillors serving on the European Development Council led by Natasha Joof. And I am responsible for intensive support. So I am the one together with Heidi behind, for example, mentoring and these fun projects. And as we mentioned during the chit chat before we started, I am also a member of the Business Platform Task Force, and we organized the JCI Europe Business Day yesterday. So I think that is for our introductions. And let's have a look at what is to expect today in this session. We will start with my JCI career. There is one surprise before we start with my JCI career, and by my, I mean Natasha. As she already mentioned, she's gonna tell us a little bit more about her JCI journey. We are going to have a look at JCI and its structure, starting from the global perspective and looking at JCI European structure, EDC, all the options, all the opportunities that these, I would say, mini organizational parts actually offer. We are also going to have a look at how to get there, where to start, who to talk to, what you actually have to do, how you can qualify for these positions. And then we will finish with a little from the kitchen. So we will look under the hood of what it is actually like, because we have some people who have had quite a lot of experience on the international level, and they will share with us what it is like to be on the international level. But before we go there, we have one very international JCI member here today, and we have asked him if he could share his perspective of the I in JCI. So before we jump to who you are with Anna, I would like to ask our Secretary General Kevin Hin for a few words.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Natasha, Anna, and Jana for organizing this session, first of all. Good afternoon to everybody from Monaco. I'm sure I've seen many of you before, as we mentioned, but it's good to see some new faces as well on this call. Yeah, I'm going to try not to repeat myself from what I have said in the previous 5 or 6 sessions I've attended this week. But yeah, so the I in JCI, basically, I'm just going to talk from my personal experience more than anything else. But I actually, when I joined JCI in Monaco in 2003, I actually spent 6 years before going to my first international event, which was the European Conference in Budapest in 2009. And the only reason I did that was because I'd just been elected as Deputy National President. And boy, after that experience in June 2009, it was followed by the JCI Academy a month later. And I was like, boy, why did I waste those last 6 years by not going to a single international event? Okay, I had my excuses like everybody else. I was running a business, I was managing a hotel, then, you know, it was like sacrificing my holidays, and instead of going to lie on a beach or going somewhere in Asia, I didn't want to go to a JCI conference. I had, however, been exposed to a certain degree to some of the international side. So I did have a basic idea, even going to Budapest. In 2004, just after I joined, I actually went on a really small event called La Francoformation. So maybe Peter knows about it. It was in Liège in Belgium. So it's like a thing for French-speaking countries to meet. And that was really cool. It was all French-speaking French speakers, but I did really enjoy the vibe. And also in 2007, when I was a national board member, I was also part of a team organizing the European Presidents meeting. So I did understand basically, vaguely, who the EVP was, who the presidents were, and all that. So I think that even if you've never been to an international event, you will be able to travel. You do get some exposure with officer visits and things like that. Yeah, and then after that, I suddenly got hooked, and I thought after my national presidency that I had several years left. I had around 8 years left, and I always wanted to run for an international position, but I kept putting it back because I was doing other stuff and waiting, and in the end, well, mainly organizing a European conference. But in 2015, I decided to take the plunge and decided to run for JCI vice president. And I don't regret it because it gave me a new lease of life to my JCI. It was my third life at JCI. I'm like a cat who's had, instead of 9 lives, I've had 4 lives at JCI. This is currently my 4th, but I had 3 lives. First domestically, then organizing a European conference, and then the third part was as an international officer. And to be honest, those last 3 years of my JCI career were most enriching out of a whole lot. You know, they really enabled me to understand what JCI was all about. I finally felt like I had gone full circle around all 4 areas of opportunity, because I joined to make friends, and then I went through personal development. I improved my leadership skills. Then I ended up improving my business thanks to JCI. And at the end, I ended up serving the community. And serving the community was not by necessarily doing community projects. Although in Liverpool once I did end up getting up at 8 in the morning on a rainy day to pick up trash in the streets with the members of JCI Liverpool in 2014. But helping the community is also inspiring other individuals, and I do believe that I've been trying to do that for the last 4 or 5 years, just exchanging ideas, and this is how we need to act as officers. So to come back to why go for an international career, first of all, because it opens your mind, and it really helps you in your business life as well to exchange with different cultures. So in 2016, the beginning of the year, I started with my trips, my official trips. But then I suddenly realized there were other opportunities. At the end of March 2016, I came back on a Saturday night and I saw a really cool picture posted on Facebook by the national president of JCI Bulgaria at the time, a certain Anna, who is here right now. And I suddenly sent her a message and I booked a flight to Bulgaria to go and visit JCI Bulgaria, because because I could. And that's how easy it was to travel at the time anyway. But this whole year, JCI as a VP helped me enhance my my ability to improvise and to make speeches off the cuff. And the year after, in my day job, I was promoted to manage a whole sales team. Well, not a whole sales team. I had a whole portfolio of clients around Europe, in Vienna, in Germany, in Munich, in Bulgaria, in Serbia, and all parts of Central and Eastern Europe. And I was able to use those skills to be able to engage with my customers who I didn't know at the time. And I was really, I completely lacked confidence in sales until my 2016 year as a VP. And it really helped me embrace getting out of my comfort zone. And I was able to actually successfully grow my sales portfolio and the turnover and double my turnover in 2017. And in 2018, as an EVP, I was able to use the skills I'd learned in sales and bring it back to JCI to help work on selling JCI to new members and changing the communication and the messaging. So at the end of the day, you'll see, for those of you who do want to go international, who've got 5 or maybe 3 to 5 or 10 years as a JCI member nationally, the international level completely opens your doors and opens your scope, and it gives you opportunities. Like, I was in Hong Kong for 4 months last year, working on a consulting project with a startup, which was run by JCI Hong Kong members who had seen who I'd developed. I'd never worked with them professionally, but they, as an EVP, I had worked with them. They saw how I behaved as an EVP, and they invited me to work on this consulting mission for 4 months to set as chief marketing officer of a social network startup in Hong Kong. So it opens opportunities in your business life as well. I'm going to conclude by saying that, like everything at JCI, opportunities arise when you lead by example. You always need to stay true to your values, stay loyal to your friends, never forget those who put you in these positions. Always be honest to others. Always treat others like you would like to be treated yourselves, especially across different cultures and across borders, because this is how we do succeed as an ethical organization, as well as ethical leaders with good values. And these are the principles I've always tried to apply, even now in my position. Like, the messages I'm delivering as a Secretary General are the same as those I delivered as a national president, as a VP, and as an EVP. It's always staying consistent to what you are and who you are, especially. Positions do not define you personally. It is your personality that defines the position every time. You don't. When I became an EVP, I didn't get defined by the position. I defined the position myself, and I put my personality into the position, just like EVP Victor did last year when he took over from me, just like EVP Marion is doing it this year, putting her own style and her own personality, which is great, by the way, and doing a fantastic job making this year her own despite difficult circumstances. And same with the whole team this year in JCI Europe. Everybody in a leadership position, even you, the leaders on the ground who don't necessarily have a title, are making this year your own because of the strength of your personality, and we know that Earth's greatest treasure does lie in human personality. So just be yourselves, carry on, keep serving the movement, because we need strong leaders right now to be relevant and to succeed. And we need the best people, the most enthusiastic, the most complete JCI leaders who can inspire other enterprising young leaders for JCI to stop being the world's best kept secret. So I'm here to help you and support you as we go on. And don't hesitate to reach out if you need any coaching or any support or anything like that. I may be like Secretary General, but more than ever, I'm more than anything else a JCI member who wants to give back to the new members so we can carry on supporting our beautiful global organization. Thank you very much and have a wonderful Saturday. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Secretary General Kevin. Inspiring as always. So yes, giving back. I'm glad you actually mentioned it because this is the wonderful thing about JCI. You don't only give back, but you also get quite a lot from it in return. So after, oh yeah, we keep letting people in. Sorry about that. So once again, let's have a look at, you've just heard who we are, what we do. You heard what JCI can give you. So let's have a look at who you are. And for that, I will hand over to Anna.
Okay, thank you, Joanna. So for those who attended the EDC candidates training, you know that we are very curious about people who are attending our trainings and our sessions. And we want to learn something more about you to be sure that whatever we are talking about is relevant to you first, and second, to know who you are in general. So I will share 3 polls with you, very short, very simple. To learn more about you, just click on the answer that is relevant to you, and that's it. Hope all of you will participate so we will know what is the audience. Starting with a very simple one, since we have different people from different areas here, the first poll is about which JCI area you are coming from. Okay, a few more seconds if someone wants to vote. Okay, no more is voting, so I'm ending this. So we have, okay, here you can see the results. So we have most of the people coming from Europe. So, and no one from America, but I guess that they know all about the JCI international opportunities, maybe, or just the time is not right to them. I don't know. But thank you for being here, and thank you, Europe, for being so present. Okay, the next poll is about how long have you been around? So how long have you been in JCI? Okay, a few more seconds. Okay, ending the poll. So we have quite a lot of people actually with some experience in JCI, which is great. This is what we are looking for. And I'm happy also to have some people who are quite new in the organization as well, because it's good that you want to learn more about the opportunities out there and to prepare yourself. That is great. So the last poll that we are going to learn more about you is if you have ever had any international position in JCI.
Anna, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Does the European Academy count here? Is that a position, or should I say no then?
Well,
it's not important, but just wondering, like, what
you
do
mean?
You think international
you
position?
mean being part of the team for the European Academy?
Does it have to be? I mean, does it have to be official? What are the official positions? That's why I'm here. Like, what separates, sort of?
Yeah, we will learn more about that hopefully in
I'll just
the
say no
next
then.
meeting. Yeah. So yeah. Well, in my point of view, being in part of the team for the European Academy, it's international position, but it's like a different way international position. So I'm ending the poll to show you what are the results. So we have the majority that doesn't have any international experience so far, which is awesome. So I hope that you get inspired to run for one. And I'm stop sharing the results. And we can continue. Thank you for participating. And now Jana will just manage this next part, which is again learning more about you. And Jana, are you here? Because I can't see her.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. I am here. I just sometimes forget to unmute myself.
Okay.
If it hasn't happened to you before, then it's coming. So the next question is about you, and I would like to ask you to write the answers in the chat so that we can read them and everybody can read them, because there's quite a few of us. So let's not get everybody talking, but why are you interested in the international JCI opportunities? So what drives you? Why did you come here? How can we help you? Just type it in the chat. We have heard that somebody wants to actually learn what it is, like how these positions are defined, where they come from, where they belong. So let us hear what you think. I am checking the chat right now. Put up the Macarena, Peter. Is that why you are here?
That was my reaction why there is no America here.
Okay. You know what?
They're still sleeping. Next time, session a bit later.
Yeah, I'm totally lost in time zones, to be honest.
Same with me.
Well, I'm happy that you found this one on time.
So I'll give you like 30 more seconds to answer, or a minute more, and I'm gonna make Peter's wish come true.
Actually, Jana, I really practiced this yesterday with my debating team. Just had debating. So
It's just because we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I can see the answers coming in. Oh, you want to make connections. You want to know about the possibilities. We can make that happen. Okay. Very nice, very nice. Just quickly checking the answers. Anna is nodding as well. I think you are in the right session for sure. To make positive changes on international level. Very nice. Very nice. And we have some people who have moved from country to country. Very nice. Helping with communication, recruiting. Wow, JCI definitely needs that. Okay, so if you have any other comments, just write them in the chat. And instead of Macarena, there is something a little more interesting that we could be listening to. And that is the personal JCI story of our current EDC chair, Natasha Joff. So I'm going to hand over to Natasha and ask her to share her story with us. Natasha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Well, let's see. I also liked the Macarena. Well, one of the things we discussed preparing the session was to also give you an insight in how it can look like. Here I put some of, well, more or less the line for when I was touching base with JCI for the first time until now. So those of you who attended my session Thursday or Monday have probably heard this before, at least some of it. The first time I touched base with JCI was in 2001. I was just newly elected to the city council in the city where I live, and I was actually only 20 years old. In my city, there is a tradition for reaching out to the newly elected councillors from different networks and organizations to get them involved. So that's basically active recruitment. And JCI was one of those, amongst a few others as well. And maybe it was just a bit overwhelming, or I don't know what, but at least in the end, I decided, no, I'm going to figure out what is it I drag myself into being a politician in such a young age, and what will that be? So I didn't accept any of them. But actually, in 2003, I was at the World Congress in Copenhagen because my boyfriend, who I lived with at that time, he was a member of JCI. So there was a few times where I was touching base with JCI and had them like in the back of my head, the organization, because in 2001 they were very active about trying to recruit me and some others as well. So by profession, I'm a lawyer. And when we reached around late 2009, 2010, my life was more or less being around politicians and lawyers. And that is absolutely boring. I cannot imagine anything that is more boring, that is more or less the only people you see. At least I needed some inspiration indeed from people who did something completely different than me. And I looked a bit into the organization, and my local chapter is purely business orientated. It's a little bit less today, but it's still a business chapter. But back in the days, it was solely business that was the focus. So I had JCI in mind because they were trying to recruit me 9 years before, and also because of the business side. So the business perspective was indeed why I joined JCI, but it's not why I stayed. But that's a story for another time. But having the business and also the opportunity to work at a larger perspective. Here you just see 14, 15, just a small highlight from that. I was regional vice president in Denmark. And that was one of the times where I slightly started to touching base with the international perspective, because as vice president, one of the things that can be a bit competitive. And one of the things that we measured amongst each other internal was how many attended the international events. So I started to put more interest in that. So, and also saw how many amazing opportunities there actually are in JCI. And I saw what it did to our members in my region when they came back and had been a part of the international environment. In 2016, one of the things I really focused on there is actually quite closely connected to what we're doing today and the role I have together with the EDC team today. Because here we had a situation in JCI Denmark where we had a deputy training for the local deputy presidents, but it wasn't really there. Oh, sorry, we had a local president's training, but there wasn't really anything for the deputies. And with 1 year to lead, we need to prepare people to also take on the different positions. So together with a few others, I designed a training for local deputies in Denmark. And we also designed a board members education. And that was like starting to focus on rebuilding and strengthening the organization. And there, what we also did was to look into how do they do it in other countries in general, and touching even more base with the international perspective. Of course, indeed, that's also in the role as deputy president. As national president, well, how we divided the tasks in Denmark was that the national president is indeed focusing on being a part of what is called about the external parts, and that the deputy president focus on the internal part. So that was indeed also a role and task for the national president. Then in 2018, I was vice president assigned to Europe, and now as EDC chairperson. So looking into the different paths, one of the things I really want to emphasize on here is that looking into the different roles, there is so much more that you can gain in JCI if you compare it to other organizations, because some of the different development opportunities that you can also achieve in other organizations. But being a part of JCI just add another layer, because we have the international roles as well and are a part of a larger perspective. And it is an amazing opportunity if you want to also on the long term in your professional or personal life wants to go international, here you are really starting to learn how to work in an international environment. That was what I took, like just ending this shortly, took with me from touching base and strengthening and rebuilding programs in Denmark by experiences from the international level as well. So that was just a very short insight in what it also can be. So, Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, I just like, when you said that you discovered JCI for the second time, yeah, I like rediscovering JCI all the time. So looking at the global level of JCI, can I just can't switch the slide for some reason. Okay, good. So think something is not working, or is it working? Okay. Anna, are you supposed to do this, or am I supposed to do this?
Yeah, I'm doing it, but
okay, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I did. Okay, it's your part. Just continue with explaining the structure.
Okay.
I didn't understand your question. Sorry.
Yeah, I got confused by. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. You got a little confused. I think it's the whole conference lasting for too long, and think we are a little bit tired. So thinking about the global structure of JCI, I joined JCI 10 years ago, and I discovered JCI internationally 3 years after I joined. And just like Kevin, I was like, wow, why didn't I do this a little earlier? And I was discovering it slowly. My first really international event was the EC in Monaco. And, I was trying to understand the general assemblies and the conference assemblies and everything. And I was trying to understand, for example, the shortcut AME, A-M-E. I thought it was America. And then I discovered that it's not America, that it is Africa and Middle East. So for me, it was difficult to understand why we have five continents, but only 4 areas. And I was trying to understand, what Asia Pacific and how it is organized, and then Africa and Middle East. So in fact, we have 4 areas. The first one is Africa and Middle East, and it's the area A. Then there is Asia Pacific, area B, America, area C. So it's AAA, and then suddenly there is Europe, and we are the area D. So this is why sometimes, when you are at general assemblies, we start with Africa and Middle East, and Europe is the last one. Well, it's not because it's alphabetical or anything, it's just the way it is. We are the area D. And in Europe, we also have some other complications, but that will be explained a little bit later. So under the General Assembly, or we would call it the global level, where all the presidents meet, there are the 4 areas. In all the 4 areas, there are national organizations, those you probably know. And then under these national organizations, there are local organizations. This is the official structure. Some countries, especially the big countries like Finland or Germany, or I know in Asia, definitely India or Japan, that you have areas or you have zones within the national organizations. But internationally, it's official that we have the area A, B, C, D, then we have national organizations and local organizations. Yep. I think, can we go to the next one?
Yes, so here it's to make your life even more easier and happier and entertaining, is one try to really present the administrative structure of JCI. And it's my honor and pleasure to explain what it is all about and what are the positions out there in international level. We'll get deeper into Europe level later, so I'm not going to tell you all. And I'm happy that we have here people with more experience in the organization, so they can also support me in that. So starting with the executive committee, which is consisted by, of course, the president, the world president, the executive vice president, the past immediate vice president of JCI, the treasurer, and the general legal counsel. After that, we have the board of directors, which is actually including the executive committee and all the vice presidents, all 17 vice presidents in the different areas. But we also have, it's not like part of the structure in that way, in that sense, but we also have the support from the HQ, what is run by our Secretary General, which is present here, Kevin Hin. So we put them here, them also in this structure to see that they're out there for us and we are working close with them in any time and any level as well. Other parts of this structure are the assistants to the president, and also there is assistance to the executive vice president. I don't know, here it's written president, but it's the executive vice president. So all vice presidents assigned to different areas, which is A, B, C, or D, they have their assistants to support them in their administrative work and their year. But also the president, the work president, has support of assistants to him. So we have chief executive assistant, who is the person who probably close to the work president, but also he has a personal assistant. All these assistants actually are appointees. We will also talk more about what is the difference between elected and appointed positions. So to really understand what it is all about. One important thing about the chief executive assistant is that chief executive assistant is also responsible for the committees. I will talk more about the committees because they are great opportunity, international opportunities for everyone, especially if you're interested in very specific area and something that you want to really contribute to the organization. And I really encourage you to learn more about the committees and how you can get there, because it's a really good thing to get things done, let's say. And so we have the committees. I will later show you the current committees. Every year they can change a bit. The committees have their chairpersons for each committee and also some members from all of the 4 areas represented there. So they are like working from all the areas, working together and doing some great jobs out there. So as I mentioned, chief executive assistant is responsible for the committees and it's working close with them. And also it's responsible for the area executive assistants together with the personal assistants to the president, which are helping the president during his or her travels around the world and in different areas. So basically this is the structure. If someone with the more experience than me wants to add something to this, it's very welcome to do it. I will just point out from all the positions here, which are elected and which are appointed positions. There is a question I will answer just a little bit later. So from the positions here that you see, of course, president and executive vice president and vice president are elected positions. You have, if you have attended the World Congress, you have seen the whole process of elections and then the announcements, etc. So you can see that process and you know that they are elected. The other positions, so treasurer, general legal counsel, assistants and committee chairs and members are appointed positions. So they're positions that don't have the official election process, but they are appointed. But of course, still there is some process before that you can go through to be appointed in a certain position. So it's not like something like just coming to your mind. So we'll later talk about how you can get there. So basically this is the structure and I see a few questions there. I will just answer them. There's one question, are these committee details are on jci.cc? So you can basically see who are the committee chairs and members in JCI-CC. There is a PDF file with all positions and who people are there with their contacts. So you can know for the current year which are the committees, which are the chairs of the committees, of course, and the members of the committees coming from the different areas. Yes, it's as Secretary General Kevin said, it's the online directory. And then, yeah. And about the video, Yes, you will send you the video when we just edit and cut the extra parts, and we'll send you all the video from the presentation so we can just use it for reference. And maybe if you haven't joined at the beginning, you can just watch it later. Any other questions, or maybe some comments from the people with the more experience in the organization? Oh, I hope that this means that you got everything, and the other people said that did a good job explaining this part. I know can be really complicated, but when you're starting to learn more about the international opportunities in your organization and to meet people and talk, you can really understand better the position. For me, it takes me quite some time, and I'm not international since yesterday, so I believe it's not that easy at the beginning. And to continue with, I will mention the committees that we have for this year. Of course, as I mentioned, there are some committees that are changing during the years, and the others are still there. We have Digital Transformation Committee, Advocacy Committee, Foundation and Fund Development Committee, Partnerships Committee, Strategic Plan Implementation Committee, Digital Transformation Committee, Skills Development Committee. So as you see, their names of the committees are showing basically what is their focus, what they're working on. Of course, there's some details, and every year the committee has their own plan of action, own activities that they want to do during the year, either continuing the previous year or adding to it. So it's very exciting. I've been part of the committee last year, so later I will share more about this part. And we have one very specific growth and development committee that will be mentioned later, because it's a bit, well, again, it's committee, but it's really different structure than the other committees. And we wanted to just to give you this to understand it better. Any questions about the committees? You think none? Just to mention again, all committee members and chairs are appointed positions, but of course there is a process how to get there. And as soon as you start to learn more about the committees and what they're doing, first you can probably get into one in the future, and second, you can actually work with them and support them and get their support, of course, also for your whatever you're thinking. So it's very important to understand them. I see a question: how often are committees reviewed regarding purpose? So basically, it's every year should be some review. I'm not saying that every year they are changing or doing something, but it's important to be relevant for the current situation of the organization and current development. So, for example, the Digital Transformation Committee is quite new committee because we see the need to digitalize our organization and everything what you're doing. So we have this committee there to work on that part. And of course, every year when they achieve something, the next year they can just put something new in their agenda and they can build up on that.
And a few committees are decided in the constitution, but most of them on a basis where we could choose, or the president / ExCom can choose what makes sense for the following year. So it is by presidential decision in the end for most of them. I also see a question where the directory can be found. It can be found if you log into jci.cc. And then there is the part with organizations. And if you log into that part, you should also see the complete ExCom, who is in the committees and so. And just on this note, if you find any mistakes there, it's because your national organization didn't update the information in the membership database, because the information comes from that part.
Yeah, just recently checked out, and think most of them are the correct ones, but still, yeah. But for the committees and other officers, international officers, I think the information is updated already. And there are a few more questions. I will just just answer them fast. Since when does the Digital Transformation Committee exist? If not mistaken, it's his second year. Maybe someone who is here before it can confirm that. It's quite new committee out there. So they're doing great job. I've seen what they have done this year as well. So they're doing really interesting things coming up. Maybe Kevin can talk more about it, but not today, of course, because we don't have this time. But who is interested into that, you can just go to Kevin or the committee and learn more about what they're doing.
Yeah, the
Okay.
next two questions will actually be covered later, more time-wise, because Marian will tell a bit about how it is to be in a committee and also how to put your name in the pool for it, that we will also give an insight in a little bit later. So if it's okay for you guys, we'll push that to the part where we allocated it.
Yeah, and we'll try to answer. There is a questions, answers the question sessions later, so we can try to answer. So to continue, next we will talk about JCI Europe. And we'll start presenting the very interesting and exciting structure of Europe. As Jana mentioned earlier, we want to make people complicated, but they're not that complicated. I'm giving the floor to Natasha to explain.
Well, since there really are various positions to run for, not only at the global level where the committees are in general are formed and belongs, we also at the European level has decided, well, we could also put some positions in. There are some things that are very important to be aware of, because when we look at Area D, you saw JCI at the global level before with the 4 areas. Then we have Area D here. Think as Area D as if you think of Coca-Cola. They have a finance department, a marketing department, sales department. Area D is a department within the larger company called JCI, just as the sales department is. The same for the other areas. Area D consists of the 5 vice presidents assigned to Europe, and it usually is 5, but actually constitutional wise, all areas are only required to have 3, but normally we have 5 and the other areas has 4. So the vice presidents, despite how many they are, and the EVP, they are part of Area D, which we also call JCI Europe. And then there is the European Development Council. Jana is going to give you a closer introduction to that after I'm done here, and also for the positions to run for in the European Development Council. Some of you were probably in the training the other day with positions for JCI Europe EV and the EDC. Then we also have in Europe a separate legal entity, and we have it for various reasons. There is a reason for having it, which is if we run larger projects that is allocated and has the focus on the European projects. Yes, EDC is European Development Council, and all areas has each a development council. So back to JCI Europe EV, that is created so, well, it's a bit easier to have some of our own positions, what we think especially is needed for Europe. But also back in the days when it was formed, one of the ideas was to run larger projects within JCI Europe, where it could also be relevant to apply for funding from the European Union. And thinking about if we didn't have a European entity, then it would be an American NGO applying for EU funding. That would probably not happen. So that is also one of the reasons to have the chance to be even more relevant as well in our own area. So when you see the line here, the yellow line between the Area D and JCI Europe EV, it is because this is a separate legal entity, even though it is close connected to JCI and JCI Europe, and we have it there. One of the interesting part is you can actually be an individual member of JCI Europe EV, but that's also a story for another day. So who's a part of JCI Europe EV? Well, the board of directors is where you see the people who are in the green fields, because the EVP, the vice presidents, and the EDC chair. So this year, Marian, the 5 vice presidents, and me, we are automatically, because of the positions we have in Area D, we are part of JCI Europe EV. Okay, so that's not really interesting. We're thinking about running for positions because these positions are already blocked then, because because of people having positions in the other entity. And then we have the area director as well. But we have two positions in the board of directors in the JCI Europe EV, which is the JCI Europe Treasurer and the JCI Europe General Legal Counsel, which is a new position. And those positions you can apply for, and the elections are at the World Congress every year at the National Presidents Meeting. So this can in no way be mixed up with the treasurer of JCI and the general legal counsel of JCI. This is for the European part only. Then we also have a partnership appointee, and at the global level, there is also a partnership committee, but here we have a partnership appointee, which more or less has a team connected to her. This year, it's a position for 2 years. So this year and next year, it's Christiane Holzinger from Austria, and she has a team of members from various countries in Europe. If we move on to the next slide, because then we also see some additional committees. You already saw some committees that Anna showed you before, which are from the global level. But here are the committees at the European level. And we have diversity and equality, and we also have the sustainability committee. Then we also have some task forces. And well, here it's a bit different where they are born, because well, the ones we have at the moment, both the committees and also the task forces, they are born at the National Presidents Meeting in Europe. It can also be presidential or JCI Europe projects or so. So it's formed within the entity of Europe. So the task forces we have now is the Business Platform Task Force, the Step Up for Europe, which has just been revamped, and there has been an amazing transformation working with that. And then we have something new, the magazine, the JCI Europe magazine, which is an idea to highlight and showcase everything being done within JCI Europe, and also uses it for knowledge sharing later. And it's a project and a project idea by EVP Marion. So seeing the positions here, Treasurer and GLC elected in the JCI EV, JCI Europe EV. Assistant to the EVP, and actually also assistant to EDC. They are both appointed, but that's also positions to run for, and they are super interesting. Partnership appointee, well, that is a position which is being appointed by the JCI Europe board. The other ones being elected, that's the national presidents deciding that, and where you can run for the the positions here. And the same with the committees. The way these committees we have here are structured when they were born with just the platform for the task force, and then JCI Europe assigns someone who is in charge of them, and then the teams are formed, and we encourage all national organizations to put in members to be a part of this. Yes. So anything to add here? Any questions? Magazines being born. How can I get, yes, Jana already covered that. So there's a magazine. Well, there will be a magazine. That is what we are aiming for this year. There hasn't been, at least not for a lot of years, but not as far as we know. So that's one of the things that we are working on as well. Okay. If not any further questions, we can move on to the European Development Council, which will be covered by Jana.
Thank you, Natasha, and thank you everybody for being interested in the magazine communication and of course the Business Platform Task Force. It is good to know that what we are doing is interesting to you. So the European Development Council, there was a question, what does EDC stand for? Yes, it is true, in JCI we have so many abbreviations that sometimes we get lost in them. So it is the European Development Council, and it is the part of the Growth and Development Committee. Actually, our chair is part of the Growth and Development Committee. So she cooperates and she liaises with other regions, other JCI areas. What we do is we focus on helping local and national organizations in Europe grow in any way. Mostly now it is focused on membership, but we try to help them grow in any possible way. There are many people involved in this process, but let's have a look at who the main actors are. Sometimes when we say that this committee is doing this and that, sometimes it usually includes a lot of people around it, because, without the help of other active people, we wouldn't achieve much. So, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to do something on the international level, go for it. You don't have to be on a committee or task force or anything, just to be active and do something. You are leaders, so don't be afraid to take action. You have seen our chair, Natasha Yuf, and you have heard her story. So this is the position. She's the mother of all counselors, if I can call her that. She's gonna hate me for that. Yeah, good. She's hating me, even though she's laughing. But she is responsible for making sure that everything runs smoothly. And she is also responsible for a lot of legal matters when it comes to the other part of JCI Europe, the EV part. Then there is counselors. There are counselors like me. I'm not sure if I can see any other counselors, but you probably know Dražen, maybe Heidi, HP, Ruth Gabler, etc. Yeah. I'm never able to pronounce her German name, unfortunately. And these counselors are also
Sachermeier. Sorry.
Once more.
Sachermeier.
Sachermeier.
Well, Marian's German is better than mine, but close enough.
I think it's good enough.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So what is important is that these people, or us, the counselors, we have portfolios, which are the areas that we should be focusing on. For example, me and Heidi from Finland, we are on intensive support. That means that we try to work as much as we can with organizations that need a lot of help, either because they are struggling or because they have a huge growth potential. It is not our task to help like everybody who is struggling, but we try to focus our energy where we can have the greatest impact. There is also counselor for national and local cooperation, HP. He, for example, helps organizations with health checklists or guides to growth. There is skills boosting, and Ruth Gabler, whatever. And this focuses on training, designing various training sessions. You probably know the regional growth and development academies, or you remember the Growth and Development Academy, the one big one that was usually before the European conference. So this is her task. And then we have one very special counselor, and that is counselor for communication, which is currently, or who is currently, Manuela Weber from Germany. And she is in charge of making sure that information is getting where it should be getting. So currently she is very active when it comes to social media, when you see her Facebook posts and things like that. Apart from that, and apart from these people, we also have Dražen, who I mentioned, and he is in charge of new organizations. So he is actively seeking out new organizations, and he is helping, newly born organizations, and he's also helping organizations that want to join JCI. For example, he's working quite a lot with Portugal right now that I know of. And then we have more people. We have, we call him assistant. I always have to laugh when I see the word assistant, because we think of him as a part of our team, but it is Jonas, and Natasha's very good friend, and he helps us with administrative part, and also like whenever he can, he helps with the rest of the stuff too. And then if more help is needed, there are special assistants that can be appointed for certain topics or for certain specific tasks. Then, as I mentioned, there's a lot of people, In the past, we had a history of ambassadors for active citizen framework. This year, we would like to focus on growth and development experts. So these are people who sort of help with, they help with the work, but they are not officially elected. They are just chosen based on their expertise and based on their willingness to help us. So growth and development experts hopefully will be people who will be specifically trained and who will be equipped to help other people grow their membership and grow their organizations. So I hope this is about the European Development Council quite a lot. If we, okay. Do they have all to travel the world, Europe, or can it be done by Skype? Okay, so the EDC counselors, it depends. It depends. Natasha has some travel that she has to do because she has to be there. And then it varies. For example, me and Heidi, because we are also trainers, we were scheduled to travel quite a lot because we were about to train at the growth and development academies or regional growth and development academies that Ruth is responsible for organizing, or like supervising, making sure that they happen and that we have the right program during them. But then Corona happened and we adjusted. And also we know that Ruth travels a lot, but she has a small baby. So it is not that you have to travel, but if you can travel when necessary, it is better. And day off sacrificed. Oh, you mean like you're gonna use all your holidays for JCI travel? I think that is something that you just have to get used to when you want to be really active in JCI. It is a lot of time that is dedicated to other people, but it is the time that you are dedicating to developing yourself. And we have the link to the directory in the chat. That's very good. Thank you, Natasha. All right, thank you, Ali. Any more questions? Nope. All right, good. So if you don't have any other questions, then I think it is time to have a look at how you can actually be involved in this process, how you can get there, either to committees, VP positions, EDC chairs, EDC counselors, growth and development experts, business task force, what to do now. Anna, can you help us with that, please?
With pleasure. Well, the first step is actually to be willing to go there. So I can say that having interested in just in general for the international positions and getting to know more about it is the first step, and probably to ask people to get more information or attending this session, which is great. But there are some requirements. I will just mention the basic requirements that are there. But of course, for every different position, there are specific things that you have to know or have to do or have to be achieved or whatever it is. So for specific positions, you have to go there and learn more about it. But I'll just point out the main part. So to be, of course, active member of the organization. This is the minimum to be able to be at any position. That is understandable. So to be an official member for at least 3 years. For most of the positions, of course, there are some positions that you can be even for less, but let's say in general, you should be a member for at least a year. And the idea here is that you have enough experience in the organization and enough knowledge. So it's to have something that you can deliver and to understand and know the organization and what is out there. Validation means that in your national organization that you're part of must approve the candidacy, so presented by the national president. For most of the positions, this is the official way to do it. But of course, if there is a way before that, you have first to say that you want to go for this position and your national organization to agree to put you forward for the position that you're interested in. Financial commitment here, it's like your organization should be financial should have paid their dues. This is very important because we have some back in the history stories about they're good candidates, but the organizations are not like financial, for example, they can apply. So it's very important also for you to follow on that, to make sure that your organization is doing okay. So first, starting with your local and national organizations to support them to grow and to be strong, and then go international and give your great experience and knowledge to the organization. And Congress attendance for some positions, not all of them, you have to attend the World Congress to be, especially for the elected positions as Executive Vice President, and EDC Chair. You should participate in the World Congress. For the other positions, it's optional. So if you are not able to attend, it's manageable also to apply for the positions. And specific qualifications, of course, there are specific qualifications for each position, so should learn more about it. So here is the time to mention, see the constitution and learn about the positions and everything there. Also talk with people who are currently or have been in the positions that you're interested in, because they will tell more about first what it is about to be in this position, and to make sure that you will understand what is behind it, what's the commitment, and what is the job to be done. So make sure that you are the person for this position, and then go further to apply for it. Either it's appointed or elected position, doesn't matter. It's important to understand it. And there is an advisory system that I'm not going to talk really much about it, because it's a system that helps us to run the organization not in a chaotic way, but really to have some order and to make sure that the right people are elected in the right positions. Here I can encourage you to learn more about the advisor system from your national president and the board. I really hope that they really know more about it, and they can explain it to you. My personal opinion is very important for those who are going international, even national positions, to really understand this system, because it's very important to understand how JCI functions in that matter. Any questions for here?
And maybe just adding, it's if you are interested in the positions, of course, sometimes things are done at the Congress and being like maybe finalized, but it is super important to get in contact with your national president, starting exploring what are the opportunities and get familiar with that on a quite early level. We have the World Congress like 5 months from now, but then we have a summer holiday, and that will be 1.5 months before everybody has covered that, more or less. So just start adding this that you are interested, and so that could be really useful for you to do it. Sometimes there will be the case that someone pokes you and said, "Could you be interested in it?" I never thought, never. That's over exaggerating, but my idea wasn't to run for VP for 18 because I put someone else's name in the pool when I was national president in 17. But then someone poked me and asked, could you be interested? But sometimes we don't know who is interested. So even though that it can be, of course, really nice, and we're sitting and waiting for someone to ask us, really put yourself forward, because it's a huge organization, and we don't know if people have a dream about going international. So just say it out in the open. That's really one of the best advices we can give. We don't read minds yet, and probably not your national president either.
Yeah, very good point, Natasha. That's true. And really say it out loud that you're interested in a position, and speak with people, and be present also. It's very important in the international level. Well, to continue, if you don't have any more questions, or maybe you later will have some. Here it's like we'll have short session, or part of this session, when people are sharing more about different positions and what is to be in this position. So kind of from the kitchen, I found out that this is very common way to say some insights maybe from the Balkan parts. It's not very common, I don't know. But so some insights from people who haven't been in the positions. So here we'll just mention a few words about the position. So we'll have EVP Marian talking about her position as executive vice president. I will share a few words about being a vice president. Then we'll have again our EVP Marian talking about what it is to be a committee chair. She has a very good experience in that. And I will mention also what is it to be a committee member, and with my experience with the 1 year marketing committee that was like only for last year. Well, Natasha already mentioned her career as an EDC before becoming EDC chair. She can mention also some few things about what it is about to be a EDC chair. And Tiana will finish with a few words about being EDC counselor and part of a task force. So I just want to welcome on stage here from that point our EVP Marian.
Yes, thank you, Anna. About being an EVP, well, of course, as an EVP, as you saw, I am a member of the executive committee, together with the 3 EVPs from the other 3 areas, and the president, the IPP, so the immediate past president, the treasurer, and the general legal counsel. And I'm also part of the board of directors together with all the VPs. But I'm also the chair of Europe. So I'm chairing the meetings with the board of directors of Europe, with the team Europe, which is also the EDC team. And I'm chairing the assembly of all the European national presidents as well. So it's a lot of meetings, a lot of chairing, and this year not so much traveling. But in general, the EVP is not the position that travels a lot. The VPs are the ones that travel the most, and I'm just making sure that everything is going well. And yeah, what else can I say? To make sure that the team as Team Europe is functioning as one team. And that's what I found very important this year, to make sure that the EDC people and the VPs all come together to be one team. Now I'm looking at my colleagues. Is there anything specific or else I should mention, or do you have any questions maybe in the chat for what it is to be an EVP?
Well, and you also make sure that we eat, drink, and sleep enough.
Yes, indeed. In the beginning of the year, I've said, this is an intensive year for you. So I want you to take care of your most important tool, which is yourself, your body. So indeed, get enough sleep. I know people like to party. Well, luckily we don't have a lot of parties, so I don't have to be that strict this year. But yeah, in general, people might like to party also at the European conference, but they also have to get up early. So yeah, think about the balance, like how much partying can you do, how much drinking can you do, and you have to be responsible, you have to be representative as well. So make sure you get enough sleep. Sleep is something that is truly undervalued, I think, and make sure you eat healthy. So indeed, and to become an EVP, yeah, to become an EVP, you first have to have been in the board already for at least a year, or at least in one position. So normally you would first become VP, and then you can run for EVP. But every year we have 17 vice presidents, and there are only 4 executive vice presidents. So that's how selective we must be.
Marin, could you maybe add a few words? Because Kevin says like being CEO. Well, Kevin, I would just say it's more like being director, because when you look at it in the more complete overview, the CEO is the president. So Marian, could you add a few words about the role you also have in the bigger picture, how by representing Europe and making sure all the different opinions are being put on the floor elsewhere also.
Yeah, indeed, and that's comparable to maybe some of you have been local president. As a local president, you chair the meetings of your local organization, but towards the national organization, you represent your local members. So if they think something needs to be done, it's your job as a local president to voice that opinion in the National Assembly. Now, similarly, the national president voices the opinion of the national members to the international assembly, so the European Assembly or the World Assembly. And so my job is indeed, when we have a European Assembly, to chair that meeting, to make sure that everybody's heard there, and to listen to them. And then when we have a meeting with the executive committee, I will be representing the opinion of the JCI Europe members. So in that way, the members of JCI, it's really a democratic organization. The members of JCI are the boss. It's not that I'm the boss. I don't get to decide what to do. Kevin doesn't get to decide what we do. And Itai doesn't get to decide what we do. In fact, the members decide what we do together by making this decision on the local level, telling that to the local president, who then votes on the national level, who then votes on the international level. The national president votes on the international level, representing the opinion of the members on the ground. So that is how the voting strength works. So the supreme authority of our organization is the General Assembly at World Congress, where the national presidents have a vote and they represent their members. So it's only my job to chair the meeting. In fact, in the General Assembly, the Conference Assembly of Europe, I don't have a vote. I can speak. I can see that we make sure that we stick to the agenda. I can control what topics are put there. But it's actually the national presidents that are the boss. They tell me what to put on the agenda, and they determine what should be discussed and what is decided. Any other questions?
Okay, think no more questions. Maybe later they will come up. We'll jump into just to mention a few things about what it is all about to be a vice president. Even though for me, my experience is still half a year and a very, very interesting and different year than before. So probably my experience as a vice president will be quite different from Natasha's experience or Mario and Kevin's experience, but still the idea behind being a vice president is, from my perspective, basically to be on the ground for the national organizations that you are assigned to. That's why vice presidents, we travel quite a lot or trying at least to visit all assigned countries at least once a year, to go there, to see what the organizations are doing, the members, and to be there for the members, to support them in their efforts to grow the organization and to be stronger. And doing that, we also we are really trying to work very closely with EDC, European Development Council, and the counselors there, because they are providing different tools that we can use also during our work within our assigned countries. So this is very important to mention this close collaboration. And of course, we are part of the board of directors, so we also have some work to do there, but it's more like to discuss things and to find ways how we can support the organization and the members, more importantly, the best way possible. It depends, of course, of the organizations that the vice president is assigned. There are different things that vice president can do for the organizations. For example, there can be some trainings for the members. There can be, you can facilitate some strategic planning session, for example. Also depends of the experience and qualifications of the person getting the position of vice president. But most importantly, really to find ways how to support the organizations to become stronger. And it's also very important sometimes the role as a vice president to be like to to support the national presidents with the communication with headquarters or what's going on internationally, because it's very important to give them information what is coming from the international part of JCI, and for the national presidents to be able to distribute this information to their members. So we have also this role as, I can say, mediator, maybe not the right word, but like really to help them to get all the information needed for the national presidents and organizations and members to reach them. So the communication is very important also, being a vice president. And this year, it's as I said, it was a very interesting year. We were supposed to travel at least most of the countries before having a European conference, and to be able really to deliver something there. But getting online actually wasn't that bad, because honestly, we were getting even closer with our organizations and with the members and we were trying to find even alternative ways how we as vice president and in general JCI Europe team and JCI can support the members. So it was a kind of a learning opportunity also to find and to see the different perspectives, what we can do as an organization and how we can be also more relevant and more present for them. So basically, this is what I wanted to share. If you have any specific questions, or maybe people who have been already in this position want to mention something to add on the vice president position, feel free to do it now. We have a few seconds to do it before coming to the next position.
I don't see any questions.
Me too. Okay, so next we are going to learn more about what it is to be a committee chair. Again, giving the floor to our EVP Mariam to share her experience.
Yes, indeed. I was the chair of the Skills Development Committee last year and the year before. And as we say, it's 1 year to lead, but sometimes there are exceptions. As a chair of the Skills Development Committee, I chaired the committee meetings and steered the committee in the right direction. So we had committee members from all over the world. We were 10 in total, so 9 committee members, and at least 2 from each area. Only Asia Pacific had 3. So every month we had a meeting with the committee, and the main task of the Skills Development Committee specifically is creating the program for the conferences and congress on training, and to develop training courses that we're working on a global level. So being a committee chair is again, leading the team of committee members in the right direction and being the contact person of the committee towards the international board. And deciding kind of the vision for that committee. And again, with this position, normally you are a committee member first, and even very often the people who are committee chairs have been a vice president before. So it's not a strict requirement, but it is recommended that you kind of know the way in the international field, so that you know who to contact at headquarters, or that you know the structure of the organization very well, and you know people in the international organization very well. So that is usually what is recommended before you become a committee chair. Any questions on that, or things I should have mentioned, my dear colleagues?
I think you covered it very well.
Yeah, I also think so. So I can actually just continue what Maria already said. And as I have been a committee member, which is, well, the difference is that I'm a member of the committee. I don't chair the committee, but actually members are a very important part of the committee because they're doing the job as well. And my story is I was part of the marketing committee last year, which is a very exceptional, let's say, interesting committee, because it was just 1 year committee. It was created especially for the last year, and we have a very specific task. We had 2 tasks. to do during the year that the committee existed. First one was to work on the new tagline. So we had made a very huge research. So it was not like we decided what we want to be the tagline, but we wanted to reach the members and to hear their voices, what they believe it should be in the tagline. So we had a very huge research made before that, and of course, we have had a proposal with a few options for the new tagline, which was decided last year. I hope that all of you know the new tagline of JCI. I'm not going to ask you to tell it now, but if you don't know it, look at it and remember it, because I really believe that it shows what is JCI all about in just few words. And the second task we got there was to see how to say it, basically to understand what people think about the JCI store and to give some recommendations how to improve the role of the JCI store and the merchandise that we have in JCI. We managed to do some job about it, but some things have changed. So let's say we partially finished this, but we did what was required from us. So what I'm saying what we have doing it's because I want to show you that we had very specific tasks that we managed to reach at the end of the year, and that was our role as a committee. And of course, the different committees have also different tasks. As Marian said, the skills development committee working on the trainings and the whole system out there. And because there was a question about how much time you have to spend being part of the committee. Well, it depends, I can say. But let's say that we also had every month one meeting with all committee members, which was very challenging because we have members from all 4 areas. So finding the right time of the day that everybody can really attend. So for some people in Japan, it can be pretty late. For people in America, it can be pretty early. So it was very interesting to see also to find this time. Well, it's good, and we were discussing different things, what we have achieved, etc. And meanwhile, between the meetings, we were doing some job and like having a communication. So of course, it depends also on the things that the committee should do. But I can say, as I mentioned before, being a committee member is a very good, maybe first step. Not for all of us, can be second or like a second or third position, international position, but it's also very good first position, international position, to understand the organization and to be able really to deliver something more and something outside of your own local and national organization. And yeah, this is for me. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. I see a lot of communication, hopefully not questions.
Yes, and Kevin is answering some of the questions. So thank you very much for that, Kevin.
Yes,
yeah, maybe I just wanted to add a few remarks on being a committee member. I noticed that in recent years, or when I joined as a committee member in 2016, yeah, how to say, I was a bit disappointed with the options we had as a committee. We seem to be more like hands. Okay, you just execute this. But I see that has really changed, and I've also fought for this to change. That committees are really the experts on a certain field, and they are consulted whenever decisions are made in this field by the executive committee. So the committees are not the ones with the decisive power, but they are the experts who are consulted. And that is also the attitude I'd like you to have if you join such a committee, that you are there as an expert, usually with experience in that field. For example, the skills development committee, you should have some experience in training in the organization, and you should be passionate about bringing this forward. I really don't want this committee member position to be used as a waiting position while you actually want to go for vice president, for example. The committee position should really be taken seriously, and I know it has been forgotten, I would say, or whatever, in recent years. But I also this year, I really want the committees to feel that they are in power, and that also they committed to something, and they're not free to sit back and relax and do nothing in that year and just have their name up a sheet or something with having an international position. So Last year, as a committee chair, I even kicked a few people out of the committee because they were not doing anything. And I believe that was very new. But if you join a committee, I really want you to be active in that committee. And so you commit to something. It is voluntary, but it is not without any obligations.
Very well said. And I see there is some communication. Thank you, Kevin, for answering the questions that are in the chat. So we can just continue with the next position, that is for EDC chair following EDC councillor.
Yes, so for EDC chair, it's quite similar to EVP, just or to the role description that Marianne mentioned for EVP. Well, leading the team, leading the meetings there. So what I also do is lead the EDC board meetings. We have meetings every second week because we have a board meeting one time per month, and then we have a work meeting as well. Similar to others, there's also work done independently, and which we sum up and vote and decide on at the board meetings. What is a bit special about the EDC chair position is that we do elect the chair in the General Assembly in Europe. And actually last year we had contested elections for everything, for the JCI Europe Treasurer, for the EDC councillor positions, and for EDC chair as well. At the same time, there is a committee called Growth and Development Committee. It's a committee appointed by the president. So there is a chair for the committee, and then there are 4 commissioners. And the commissioners are one from each area. So I represent Europe in that committee, and that's a bit strange having, well, both the same position being appointed / elected. Well, theoretically, it could be 2 different persons, because the president can appoint whoever he wants to be the commissioner in the Growth and Development Committee, and we could still have an elected chairperson. How that would work on the everyday basis, that would be really interesting, but that's more on the theoretical part. But that means, as an EDC chair, you're also part of the International Committee. And talking about when Peter asked, so what influence does the committees have? Well, it's always very close connected to what is the aim for the year, what is the goal and the purposes we are pursuing. One of the things that we're working tirelessly with this year is looking at the retention rate in our local national organizations, because we are actually quite good at getting new people in, but they don't stay with us that long. That's one of our issues, like on a general basis. So we want retention to go up, and when that is a focus from the president / the board of directors, but here decided by the president, that's something the committee works with, and that is what we are taking with us into here, the European Development Council, that, okay, how do we support that overall strategy? So that's also one of the things that the EDC chair does, making sure there are alignment, talking about growth and development from the area we work on an everyday basis till what is being decided by the president. So I think that was what I wanted to add. I don't see any questions. There are some different requirements if you want to run for the EDC chair position. They can all be found in the EDC guidelines, or you can reach out to us. That's absolutely perfect. Jana.
Okay, goody good. So yes, being the EDC counselor is amazing when you have a good EDC chair. I mean, as good EDC chair as Natasha is, it is amazing. You get to work on Team Europe, so you also get to work quite closely with VPs and EVP Marion, who is also amazing when it comes to looking after her team. What we focus on is, you have your portfolio, that I already mentioned, but you also look at where you can help, even though it is not your portfolio. So basically, you just try to work as a team to be as impactful as possible. What I would say is it is good to work with people who know what they are doing. So from my perspective, it is wonderful because everybody on our EDC team and even on the team of VPs is a professional when it comes to what they do. So they know their stuff and they can really deliver results. So this is something that I really appreciate. This is what I like. And that saved my JCI career for me because I was almost on, leaving my active role in JCI, but then this opportunity presented itself and I went for it, and it was a very good decision. Also, what you get to do is you get the perspective of how it works on the international level, because you have regular EDC meetings, but you also have the meetings of Team Europe. So you see what the VPs are doing, and you also liaise with VPs, you liaise with certain countries that need your support, and you also make sure that you keep an eye on your countries that you're supposed to look after. In addition to that, you get to do some traveling if you have the regional growth and development academies, and if you're one of the counselors that are also trainers, if it is required. And you also see how JCI Europe is actually run. So that brings me to, task forces and things like that. So you are there and you know how the machinery operates. So you get to understand the international level of JCI when it comes to administration. And of course, you get to expand your skills, develop yourself as a person, because working on such an international team and, especially this year, having the conditions that we have, I think we are really all growing, and that includes the VPs as well. I had no idea there was Zoom before COVID-19. Everybody was just happy with Skype and, Google Hangouts. So that is really good. And when you want to change something, when you want to redesign something, you work with your colleagues and you can really, I feel like we can really have the impact that we need to have, because you are there designing the training material, delivering the training, talking to the countries and listening to the countries what they need. This is one little drawback, that we try to help countries, but we need to get the countries to reach out to us and tell us how we can help them. So this is, I think, the trickiest part there. Like you might think that a country needs help, but until they reach out to you and they tell you what is it that they need, it is very difficult for you to find out. Even though the VPs try to help and, we try to help, but, you cannot help a person that doesn't ask for help. And that's the same in JCI. When it comes to task forces, the JCI Business Platform Task Force has been mentioned, and these are for people who really want to do something. Like you see the need that something needs to be done, and you talk to your, for example, national president, and then they can propose at the conference assembly or the European president's meeting, they can propose a task force to be established. So this is what happened with the Business Platform Task Force and with the Step Up for Europe Task Force. And these task forces are set up specifically for the purpose, like you get the task and you deliver the task. And then we will see how it continues in the future. But then there was a call with the Business Platform Task Force, as well as with the Step Up for Europe Task Force. There was a call to all national presidents, if there are people, members on their national board or members with a lot of international experience sometimes, or even people with experience in the particular field, that would be interested in helping out. And then people who are involved or want to be involved, for example, in business or in revamping the Step Up for Europe campaign, they reach out. And the chair of the task force gets to choose who they want or do not want on the task force. And it is really good opportunity. I would say that it is good opportunity to have your first international experience, because this is something that is done quite quickly. And it's really job oriented. So you can see the results quite quickly. Sometimes if like the global committees and things like that, the more people and the more areas are involved, the longer it takes to change things. Yeah, good. My voice is low. People always tell me that I shout. Marion hears me well. Okay, good. So yeah. All right. So yeah, good. If you have any more questions about task forces, about EDC counselors, feel. I'm sorry, I'm reading Kevin's comments and I have to laugh. Feel free to reach out to me. I also announced that I would be running for the EDC chair next year, just to continue Natasha's great work. So if you have any questions about that, some of you have reached out, so don't worry to reach out to me, but maybe not right now, maybe tomorrow. Okay. So I think the floor is open for any kind of questions. Yes. Dominic is asking a very nice question. What has been a unique moment of learning for each of you in your experience on a committee, EVPs, SG role? So VPs, EVPs, SG. That's not a question for me, that's a question for you. So unique moment of learning for Anna. You're laughing. It seems like you know the answer straight away.
How about the coronavirus? I think that says it all. Or at least this year, that has been the major cause of learning, I would say. Being creative, being inventive of how we can add value to our members in a role as EDC counselor, vice president, or EVP. In any role, how can we still add value in this completely changed context of a corona affected world?
Yeah, that's true. And also I believe that give us this learning and trying opportunity to change things that we have been talking that we need to change, but we're postponing, and now we are doing it's more general for JCI, not only for big and roles. And one thing I like that one of my assigned countries president said that this year we have a crash course in leadership. Even though we are having we are leaders and having leadership positions within our local organization, national organization, even with the outside of JCI, with this situation now we have really a specific crash course that I was showing our abilities, how we can cope with this and how we can actually change this situation into opportunity to learn, to do, and to try new things. So here it's also this, I can say that unique moment of learning is exactly about this, how you can really lead and show people that the situation is not as bad it is, and it's actually just an opportunity to change things. Of course, there are some bad things happening, but we shouldn't focus on that.
Yeah. If I may just add about my experience as SG so far, I mean, it's not something which people are used to doing already. So I haven't got a lot of benchmarks to ask unlike Marion or Anna, you've got about 5 or 6 past EVPs you can ask. I don't really have that option. So I've been learning on the go. But my biggest challenge, even before coronavirus, was just coming in after a period of, let's say, turbulence in 2019 and stabilizing the ship. So I had to take over about 25 team members at JCI headquarters, but also spread around the world, who were worried about their jobs, who didn't know me, I didn't know them, and it was a bit difficult to develop mutual trust at first. It's like taking over as CEO of a new company, because I am technically the CEO of JCI headquarters. I'm responsible for all the recruitment, all the budgeting, all the finances, and all the HR, in addition to all the policy behind. And it was, I had a very different approach and very new messages and a completely different, diametrically opposed outlook compared to the predecessors, the previous management team. And it's also trying to sell to your team members, getting to know them and getting to do it. And it was already tough between the handover in December and JBM, and I'd been planning to go and visit them once every 2 or 3 months, except that didn't happen. And so I've been doing all this from a distance for in different ways. But actually, this corona crisis has actually brought the team way together, because beforehand everybody was in the headquarters office and meeting in a big room, and all the overseas teams were were behind their screens. So it was all the US team against the foreign team mentality. And we were meeting once every 2 weeks. The meetings were always tense and etc. And when the lockdown came in, and when we decided to close down the JCI headquarters office, everybody was working from home. So everybody was actually in the same boat. Everybody was behind their screens alone. And we decided to increase the frequency of the meetings to every day. Every morning there was a quick checkup to see how everybody was doing and to update. And now we've made the meetings take place once every 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we've created much more of a team bond, and it's helped me get closer to the team, because the whole "we are all in this together" mentality also applies to the team at JCI headquarters. So this is essentially my biggest learning curve, actually managing such a big team who are not volunteers or JCI teams, like in the cases of a local organization. They're actually paid staff. So with different cultures, with different mentalities, different attitudes, and different skill sets. So we're adapting the whole JCI attitude, transforming challenges into opportunities, thinking outside of the box, and I've actually been able to apply this to JCI headquarters and in a professional context as well. So this has actually been a massive learning curve for me, and it's been brilliant. So thank you for asking that question, Dominic.
And thank you for your answer.
Yes, thank you for the answer. I'm checking if we have any more questions, but I don't see that many. Yep, it's just mainly answers and some other discussion. So any more questions? Who was that? Is that on purpose, or is just somebody just? Okay. I think that's just someone's mistake. All right.
Actually, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what if, because you say for the most of the positions, you need approval from the local organizations and so on. But what if people like me, for example, are traveling a lot? And I mean, I can contribute for different organizations, but it's really hard to be. I'm a member now of JCI UK, but I'm moving from the UK. Is there any career for this kind of people who are can't really commit to one local organization?
Can anybody? Where are you moving to? You're moving from UK or to UK?
Yeah, from the UK. I'm now a member of the UK. I think I keep my membership there for now, because I might come back in a year. But for example, it's really hard to know how long I will be abroad and so on. Is there any career for people who are moving? Especially, for example, now I'm a member of JCI Belfast, and I have no intention of coming back to Belfast ever. I mean, maybe just a visit, but not. So how should I proceed, or what should I do in this case?
Maybe I can comment on that. I'm a member of a local organization called JCI Amsterdam International, and we are an English-speaking local organization in the Netherlands. So all others are Dutch and Dutch-speaking. And we have a lot of people who move from city to city. So they move to Amsterdam, and they are looking for to join JCI because they were a member in their own national organization. And then they move to Amsterdam and they look for a way to join. And then they join our local organization because they usually don't speak the local language. And then we also have a lot of members who are Dutch or are a member with us, and they move somewhere else and they contact the closest international local organization that also speaks English, because they are in several cities Europe. So there is like an unwritten rule that if you move somewhere else, usually the local organization there should accept you as a member right away. They are not obliged to, but usually that is what happens. And for the international positions, it really doesn't matter where you are a member. You have to be a member somewhere in order to have an international position, but it doesn't really matter where you are a member. So if you're moving from one place to the other, you transfer your membership there. For the position internationally, it doesn't matter.
Good.
I don't know if it answers or helps in any way.
Okay,
but,
yeah, thank you. I will see, because for now, because I don't know how long I will be outside the UK. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see. Thank you.
If you move to Amsterdam, I know the right place for you to go.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add something as well? We actually last year we had a discussion. There was a task force run by some JCI vice presidents like Nihal and Laura from JCI Europe regarding alternative membership statuses as well. And one of the categories we were looking at and we were exploring last year, that was before I came in, so we've been busy with other emergencies since then, but it's something we want to revive. We were looking at online memberships, so that members who are people who are JCI minded but who are living in countries where JCI does not exist yet or has not been set up, for example, Portugal. I remember having a conversation with Lydia about that beforehand, or Portugal, or in United Arab Emirates, or Dubai, or Ethiopia, or Spain, for example, like Madrid. Contentious discussion, but hey, would love to have JCI in Spain one day, like the real Spain. Because it's a shame not to have JCI in a country of 40 million people, seriously. And yeah, so if we've got, sorry, I'm a bit annoyed about that. But anyway, yeah, so anybody who wants to create a JCI in Madrid, for example, can create an online chapter and meet with the JCI members in Washington, DC, where there's, or Miami, where there's no real JCI either, or Chile, or Dubai, and create online chapters as well, where they contribute directly to JCI and to the JCI budget, and then we'll provide infrastructure. This is still a work in progress, which will take a year or two, but yeah. And yeah, it will give opportunities to places where there's no JCI for various reasons. And I hope 2,000 members in JCI Spain very soon. Anyway, that's just another thing. Thank you.
I'd like to comment on that, because it would be such a great thing, something like a JCI international member, especially for people who are moving from place to place, that they can join. For example, if you are living 3 months in Madrid or in Amsterdam, whatever, they go there. Or if you're in the UK, then you're joining there. It's like kind of like open membership, that you're still a part, some kind of like international membership. That would be great.
Yeah. Lydia, I have good news for you. This was something that was already discussed at the EC in Lyon. So don't worry, it's in the pipeline.
Yeah, that's good that we actually again have this in discussion. Yeah, of course, we can continue in some other session or some other opportunities that we have there to actually work on this. And since we are already at the end of this session, I want to thank everyone who attended. Be curious, ask more about the positions, find out the ways that you can get to your positions, of course, talk with your presidents and organizations. And here is my question: are you ready to go international? It's more like a rhetoric question, so ask yourself, are you ready or are you willing to? And yeah, if you are, just ask and show that you're interested. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Marin. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session. I'll just give the Jana and Natasha, if they want to say a few final words before I'm wrapping it up.
I'll be very brief. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to see that there are so many people interested in international positions. It helps me believe in JCI's bright future, even despite COVID-19. And I do apologize, I have to run to another session that started a minute ago. So thank you very much. Be ready and have fun when you join International JCI.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks. See you later to awards or at the next session. Bye.
Yes, attend the next session or join us for the awards ceremony. It's going to be a blast, I can assure you. Follow the JCI Europe Facebook page for that.